Guys, so this is the last Roughhouse Friday that's going to be public. After this, we're going to start putting it on patreon.com/Bryan Callen. So we're going to put this behind the paywall. This, as it is going to be a day early on patreon.com/Bryan Callen. So if you join patreon.com/Bryan Callen, it's $5 a month. We're going to have this. We're going to be doing a lot more of the Roughhouse Fridays and probably a whole bunch of other content. So that's just a little teaser for what you get.
Let's fucking go. All right, Bryan.
Let's go. We got a short and to the point show on Roughhouse Friday. We broke down the Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley fight. We touched on the UFC.
Yeah.
We have Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Let's go.
Very colorful, very enjoyable. I can't wait for this. And then we've got Sugar Sean O'Malley. We have the great comedian Dov Davidoff, and we have Off Camera Guy. Our listeners know this guy. Is there anybody that knows fighting better than that dude? It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
dude.
it's almost like Rain Man, the level that the motherfucker can talk fighting. It's incredible.
He's like Rain Man. He's like Rain Man. He's the badass nobody knows.
Yep.
He's the guy who knows fighting. It's so fun. I get to like kind of roll with him sometimes, or like he would teach me like boxing. It's so funny. You can grab him anywhere, and he looks at you and he goes, "You're going for a ride," and he looks like a regular guy.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So what I am gonna do is I'm gonna put in the description of this episode. You can look down. I am gonna put timestamps in the description. So anybody that wants to hear him or wants to hear Dove or Sean or whatever, I will tell y'all where to go to listen to that. I mean, I encourage you to listen to the whole show, get an informed opinion before you bet with us. You can go to roughhousefriday.net/bet for your odds, and you can bet with us. But yeah, I am going to timestamp it so you know where to go if you're here for a specific reason. But all three were pretty fucking great, and I think the consensus might be there. So I think y'all enjoy this episode.
Do you like making money, betting on fights? Is it your favorite thing to do every Saturday night? Do you like some handsome fellas breaking down the odds? Callen and McCormick are the MMA gods. Roughhouse Friday. Roughhouse Friday. Roughhouse Friday. It's a Roughhouse Friday.
Good to go.
All right. Welcome to the Rushmore.
That's mine. That's the other show. Thank you. I appreciate that, but go ahead.
Yeah, of course. All right. Welcome to the Roughhouse Friday podcast, where we give you the best odds. If you want to bet on fights, this is the podcast, by the way. We got Dov Davidoff, the great Dov Davidoff, a comedian, and he and I will be at the Improv in Buffalo, September 9, 10, and 11 at Helium. Either way, we got Dov Davidoff. We've got the great Sugar Sean O'Malley, who's going to be showing up. We got Off Camera Guy, who you guys have come to love, who knows more about fighting than anybody. So let's dive right in. Dov, you're a fight fan.
I'm a big fight fan. Yeah.
Now, if you have to put your money on the Jake Paul.
Listen, man, it's a tough bet. One, if I'm putting up money, I mean, I see it more as a pick 'em fight, and the odds are almost 2-1 at minus 190. I mean, they've got Paul at you got to put up $190 to win 100. So it's, I don't know where I'd put my
How do they make these odds? How do these guys make these odds? What are they looking at?
I think the line comes out relative to, who they think is going to win. That's sometimes where the line starts, and then it goes to who's betting on what, and they make the spread in the middle. So sometimes if a lot of money's coming in one direction, but I'm not a bookie, so, I'm not even good at math, but I'm pretty sure that the odds by the time the fight happens are relative to who's laying money on who.
Yeah, so right now, because it got to where it was Jake Paul was like minus 200 at one point. Now, if you go to Bovada, who sponsors the show, if you go to roughhousefriday.net/bet, you can get Jake Paul right now at minus 185 and Tyron Woodley at plus 145. And I saw Ariel Helwani tweeted earlier that like it was a stat that like only 23% of bettors are putting their money on Jake Paul right now, but 60% of the money is on him. So that 23% of bettors are betting a lot more money. So that's why that line is changing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No,
Dov, you were talking about this mid-distance. You got Jake Paul, who's got him by 15 years. He's 15 years younger. He's very serious about boxing. He's bigger. And Tyron Woodley, if you listen to a lot of people, they'll tell you he hasn't wanted to be in the ring in the past 4 or 5 years.
Look, I believe he wants to, watching the lead up, I'm not in the guy's camp, but I believe he wants to be in the fight, given what I know about human nature and what I can tell from somebody's interview. We're not really going to know until Sunday, I guess. But, it's an interesting fight insofar as we don't know who's going to win. I mean, you've got a bigger, much younger, longer guy who's arguably been at least training in that mid-range that boxers fight in for longer than Tyron Woodley. But, Tyron's the guy.
I don't know if he has. Has he been fighting for longer than Tyron?
No, he
Tyron
hasn't started fighting longer. He's been just training in that range.
Just boxing specific.
Tyron Woodley's been boxing. He's been boxing at Wild Card in these places for a long time.
Absolutely.
But I guess it's different.
But for MMA, I mean, if you're hitting, I don't know what the analogy is. I just know, that mid-range, trying to get that mid-range right, and from what I've seen in Tyron's MMA fights is, they're not combinations. They're usually a big right hand, and the threat is he's able to find it because the other guy, it's not in that mid-range where he's using a lot of, I don't know. I see him on the other end of a jab.
Well, yeah. A lot of boxing is really built off the jab, right? And then there's it's different considerations footwork wise. You're not worried about getting your leg kicked in. You're not worried about double legs or single legs. You're just dealing with the footwork is different. The distance is different. You're working off of points. You're setting things up off your jab. There's all kinds of considerations.
Timing and distance, different rules, different game. Obviously there's the approximation, which is why why we're talking about the fight. If it were an MMA fight, we wouldn't be talking about it.
I remember when I was at the fight when Rory McDonald fought Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
I was at that fight and
put him on his back foot the whole time. Kept the jab in his face.
Yeah.
McDonald wasn't afraid of the takedown.
McDonald walked right up.
He got shut out.
This is when Tyron was at his prime, and Rory walked up and stood right in his grill, just like a boxer. And you're right, he jabbed the fuck out of him and then worked off of that. So even in his prime, he had trouble with that mid distance.
That's right. I know you're talking about him trying to fight off his back foot, which he got I don't know if the word is froze. It's sort of what happens when you have no answer to what's taking place is whatever happened to Tyron Woodley when he fought McDonald. But that's what makes this interesting.
So where's your money?
Look, gun to my head, if it's 50-50, I'm putting money on Jake Paul. At minus 190, I don't know. I don't love those odds. I think it's a closer fight than that. I think it's more of a pick 'em fight. I'm just surprised when I see this Jake Paul being interviewed. Have you seen his interviews? He seems incredibly confident, which doesn't mean you're going to win the fight.
Right.
It's a unique, scenario, both culturally and
he's a showman, but he's not. But we haven't seen him fight a boxer yet.
And I think,
what were you going to say, Tom?
I was saying that Tyron early on, a lot of times, did wrestle pretty heavily in his MMA career. And a lot of his knockouts that came, those guys were worried about the takedown. His double leg was so good. A lot of people I think that makes a very big difference in him landing those overhands and stuff he threw with people's hands down and people worried about the wrestling and shit like that. So I don't
100%.
know if it translates to boxing the same.
It absolutely does not. There's no way you can overstate the importance of that threat in that mid-range. What opened up the opportunity for Woodley to throw big overhand rights was that he could isolate the other guy through the fear of that takedown. Listen, what am I? I'm not Farad Zahabi, but I know enough about that mid-range. I've sparred enough to know that if you're afraid of the other guy shooting for your midsection, you're not going to stand in that mid-range and trade. You're going to keep space, and then it allows him. As soon as you saw what Bryan was talking about with McDonald, when McDonald moved forward and kept sort of in his face, Tyron kept looking. He was doing this the whole night, lost all 3 rounds from what I remember. I think that's why, if somebody's making an argument for Jake Paul winning the fight, I think that's why they're making it. I think that mid-range, if you're here and you're longer and the other guy's not real tricky and fast and can get over the top, I don't see Tyron Woodley as a guy who can really trade accurately in that mid-range. But you can't count out explosiveness, a right hand, and experience, and his ability to stay calm in the pocket. And so this is what makes it really and interesting.
All I know is that we're talking, and I'm as a fight fan, I'm interested to see what Jake Paul has.
I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, look, everybody goes, well, he hasn't fought a boxer. It's like, well, if he fought, the dude's 190. If you're talking about fighting some Russian light heavy with an Olympic background, Paul's going to get murdered, and we wouldn't be talking about it. It's not interesting. It would be 20-1 fight. We're talking about a pick'em fight now against an older, really experienced guy with a big right hand.
So you're putting your money on where?
Gun to my head. I think Jake Paul can pull this off. I think he's going to keep his jab in his face. I think his right hand's going to come into play. His size is going to come into play. I see him winning the fight. I see him winning the fight by knockout.
Yeah, unfortunately, and you can actually get him at plus 190 if you call him to win in the distance on Bovada. You can get Jake Paul to win in the distance at plus 190 if you like those odds better.
How many rounds is this fight?
8 rounds.
8.
All right.
It sucks because, like, as an MMA fan, I mean, obviously boxing fans too, but as an MMA guy, fan that's watching him fight a YouTuber, your instinct is to want to be like, Tyron Woodley will fucking kill him. That's what you want to think. And then the more you look into it, you're like, I don't know. Like, you think that's how it should be, but that is not the case. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a point of view on this Giga guy, this Barboza Giga guy? He's got 200 fights or something. I mean, this Giga guy is a crazy kickboxer, like
Eastern European. Yeah.
Nightmare.
And
Barboza, fucking nightmare.
And Barboza's a murderer on his feet.
And he looks fucking great his last several fights. Yeah.
And he's not fighting a wrestler. He's a murderer. So this will be really interesting. I don't know much about the.
Well, you're talking about as high a level striker, kickboxer as you can get from Georgia. As high. Oh, and by the way, he's fighting at 145. A little birdie tells me he weighs in at 180 or something. So he's a big boy.
I'm really interested to hear what O'Malley has to say about a battle between two guys that both try to keep the fight on their feet the whole time. And these guys are both killers on their feet. Barboza's got. I mean, I've never seen anybody kick like that.
Yeah, he's a nightmare. Paul Felder said that. I was at that Paul Felder fight where Barboza was just driving that fucking shin into his ribcage. Paul Felder, by the way, you don't get tougher thanUl Felder. You don't get tougher than that guy.
He's a gamer.
Maybe Kelvin Gastelum is right there with him, but Paul Felder was taking those shots, and it was just. Fucking the man must be made of Irish steel. I don't know what it is.
So we had Paul on my other show, and he told us on that show that Edson Barboza 3 is the one fight. This is before he retired, but it was the one fight he hopes never fucking happens. He's like, I never want to fight that guy again. But they're 1-1, so that was a split trilogy there. Yeah, and he was he's like, I never want to feel that again. It's one of the worst pains of his leg.
Felder doesn't get his due. Felder is as good a 55-pounder as just. Almost anybody's ever stepped in that fucking night. He is so tough.
Yep.
Yeah,
so smart.
Yep.
He's astonishing. All right. Well, there it is. Do you have Barboza and Giga? Do you know enough about him to put money on him?
I can't bet against Barboza fighting another striker, but I don't know enough about him to be really confident. But gun to my head, I'm going to pick Barboza.
Yeah, that is a pick 'em too. Barboza is minus 115 and Giga's minus 105. So that's fucking dead even essentially.
Yeah.
All right, let's get off camera guy on right now. We appreciate you, buddy.
All right, guys, thanks.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, we got off camera guy on. You guys, a fan favorite off camera guy. Last time OCG was on Roughhouse Friday. People loved him. I've already said you know more about fighting than pretty much everybody. So we got Jake Paul, we got Tyron Woodley. What's your call, dude? Break it down for us.
Well, the first thing I want to start off with is let's not forget that Tyron was a phenom athlete when he first stepped into the UFC. He was very good in college, 2-time All-American, Missouri, really explosive athlete when he came to the UFC. The key factor is he was extremely hungry when he came to the UFC, which most people in the last 2 years have not seen that Tyron Woodley. The Tyron Woodley we see finish his career in the UFC looked like a guy that didn't actually want to even be in there.
Yeah.
Didn't want to fight, didn't really want to be in there, wasn't really enjoying himself, didn't have that aggression that he had when he was coming up the ranks. And it showed in his performances. So, like everyone else, when this fight was announced, I expect pretty much the same Tyron Woodley to show up to this event. He's looking at a payday. He's not really sure where he's going to get his income for the next few years. So this pops up. It's a good payday, probably better than most of his UFC paydays he's ever made.
Or all of them, yeah.
Yeah, so he's definitely going to take it. That being said, my opinion changed a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, mine too.
And the reason being is I think Paul's camp went a little too far with some of the smack talk, specifically towards Tyron's mother.
Yep.
I don't know the details of what happened, but I know there was a small altercation at their media press junket, and Tyron was heated and wanted to get his hands on somebody. So what you have to understand is when you get a kid who's been competing in competitive sports since he's 7 years old, when he goes out to compete as an adult, he's not trying to hurt his opponent. He has no malicious intention. He's out there to win, just like a soccer player, just like a basketball player. He wants to win. Now, when they don't like you, now you're looking at a completely different animal. And my best example I can give any of your viewers is Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping. Danny, very similar to Tyron, wrestling his whole life, great wrestler, went out there to win, did what he wanted to do to win rounds, beat guys, wasn't generally trying to physically hurt someone and alter their life projection forever. But when Michael Bisping got under his skin, you saw a completely different Dan Henderson that night. Dan Henderson literally wanted to hospitalize him, and I think did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
There is a potential that that's the Tyron Woodley that shows up this weekend. If a malicious intent Tyron Woodley shows up, now you're looking at a completely different animal.
Well, you could say the same thing about Khabib versus Conor, right?
Well, exactly. Khabib generally throughout his career never really wanted to hurt guys. I mean, he literally would talk to them during the fight and ask them to give up because he didn't want to beat them up anymore. Cases in point, Edmund Barbosa.
Yeah, Michael Johnson too.
Michael Johnson, literally asking him to quit because he just engaged.
Come on, buddy. That
didn't want to hurt
the
him
belt
either.
is mine. You know the belt is mine. Please give up. The belt is mine, buddy. Come on. Step, please step.
He didn't particularly want to hurt them. In the Justin Gaethje fight is a perfect example. He had him in an S mount, a Sambo S mount, could have armbarred him easily, and then realized, oh, his parents are in the audience. I don't want to hurt him in front of his parents. I'll just triangle him.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. He said that.
Yeah,
Jesus
exactly.
Christ.
He didn't want to hurt him in front of his parents, so he went from an armbar to a triangle instead.
What a bad motherfucker. What a bad motherfucker.
Perfect example is then Khabib on Conor night. Not only did he want to hurt Conor, he was still so pissed off at the end of the fight, he then jumped over the cage and attacked Conor's training partner.
Yeah, Dylan Dennis. He wanted to hurt him too.
Totally different animal. And that might
be but
this weekend.
Is there anything you've seen, and it's hard to see because it may not be anything, about Jake Paul and his boxing skill versus Tyron Woodley that would have you believe that Jake Paul has the skill to do this? And what is there any way to gauge what kind of boxer Jake Paul is?
Well, I can tell you this from what I've heard from people around his camp and from his camp, and what I've seen small snippets of his movement. He understands he's 6'1", and he understands how to fight long as a 6'1" guy, specifically on his jab, on his right side, because he is going to switch southpaw into regular during this fight. I guarantee it. So he throws a good hook from southpaw, but he's really going to concentrate on his long sliding jab a lot. And Tyron Woodley is going to have some serious fits with that because
sliding jab meaning just he slides his front foot while he jabs.
Yeah, he's going to slide, fill the gap, maybe deliver the backhand, maybe pivot off, cut the corner, wait for Tyron to counter, and then catch him after the counter. So he's going to fight very long. Tyron can't fight very long. Tyron needs to get in the pocket, press him and get in the pocket. And that's where he's really explosive. And anybody who doesn't know about striking, when you go into a bar on the weekend, the guy you should be worried about is not the guy benching 365. The guy you should be worried about is the guy with ass and legs. Because the guy with ass and legs is the guy that hits the hardest in the room. Because all your punching power comes from ass and legs. So that's why magically your wrestlers in the UFC tend to knock people's heads off. Because that sport generates a lot of ass and leg. Tyron Woodley is not short on ass or leg. I mean,
he really isn't. He's got crazy ass legs.
He might even win an ass contest somewhere down south. I don't know.
He's got some cakes. He's got a hell of a tailpiece.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I mean, if I had that lower body, I'd be wearing those baby shorts, those hot pants all day long.
To the gym. Absolutely. So that being said, hopefully, I really hope a very angry Tyron Woodley shows up and forgets about fighting Jake Paul and just tries to hurt the kid. If that occurs, I don't think Jake Paul is going to survive 5 rounds.
Really? So gun to your head, money on.
Yeah. What do you think if we get the same Tyron Woodley we've had for the last couple of years?
Tyron Woodley, last couple of years, each 3 or 4 combos and starts backing up.
Yep.
And if he starts backing up, the worst thing you can do on a longer fighter is step away from him, because now you're actually stepping to the end of his shots. You're stepping to the end of his line. The best thing you can do is close a gap on a longer fighter. If your instinct is to back up, which Tyron has throughout his whole career backed up, one, because of his wrestling background, generally wrestlers will back up to make space for that shot. They want to get under your hands. They need a step to get under your hands.
Right.
So he's in the habit of backing up, which you don't want to do with a longer fighter, specifically one that fights long.
Well, I will say, based on your TJ Dillashaw breakdown and pick on the last episode you were on, you were the hit of the fucking episode. So I think thousands of people listening to this are going to go with whatever you're about to pick in the next 30 seconds. So who are you going to actually put your money on?
I mean,
it depends on who shows up, right? It depends on who shows up.
The problem with fighting is it's not peas and carrots. There's a lot of psychological involved, and Tyron's really struggled in the last few years finding what Tyron wants to do.
Yeah, and I think Jake oozes that fucking confidence.
Yeah, Johnny Hendricks went through the same thing. I mean, a lot of these guys find that they don't actually even like to fight. It was a way to get to that money, and then they got the money and they realized, wait a minute, I don't even particularly like to do this. So it's very hard to go out there and get punched in the face when you're not particularly excited about doing it. So again, if Tyron goes out there and tries to be a boxer and tries to be technical and tries to outskill him, I think Tyron Woodley loses this fight for sure. And I would say to be around round 6 or 7, Tyron starts to fade heavily. If Tyron goes out there and forgets all that and just tries to really hurt this kid, ignores everything and just walks into this kid and tries to hunt him down and bang him, I think Tyron puts him out by the 5th round.
Wow.
But again,
so if you're Tyron's coach, what are you telling him to do?
I'm going to remind him how much they said things about his mother.
Yeah. The sweetest lady on the goddamn planet, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen videos of Tyron's mom. She's the nicest lady that's ever been born on this planet.
Yeah.
She's amazing. But what do you say? What technically would you say to Tyron? What you just said?
Again, I would make up things about what they said about his mother. Yeah. I would make up new stuff. I would literally even hire a guy to send vicious messages to Tyron's mother to try to upset Tyron.
Yeah.
I would have
because you want Tyron to just close distance and just fucking bang with hooks.
I want him to just try to physically hurt the kid.
He's fully capable of doing that.
Forget about making it to round 5. Forget about cardio. Forget about everything. I want him just to go out there and literally just try to murder the kid.
Yeah.
Literally try to murder him.
To fight. All right. So I'm based on that. I gotta see the look in Tyron's eyes, and it's hard to do. So I'd have to make a pick. But overall, safe money is still on Jake Paul. Yeah.
If it's a technical fight, safe money's on Jake Paul. Yes.
Yeah, I think he's
an emotional fight.
Now, were you in? By the way, going back to your pick of thank you for the Corey Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw pick, because I made some money on that. But you must have been impressed with the fact that TJ had one leg and one eye and still beat Corey Sandhagen.
No, I mean, he has that work ethic. His ego drives him pretty viciously. I wasn't expecting him to quit regardless of what happened. You're going to have to put that kid out on his shield for him to stop. He's one of those guys. You're not going to.
I mean, and I think he and Peter Yan, I don't know, man. Peter Yan must be losing some sleep.
Peter Yan is not losing any sleep. Probably Peter Yan, instead of watching cartoons, watches TJ Dillashaw fight on Saturday mornings.
Peter Yan is that confident against TJ Hurricane Nightmare?
He'll finish TJ Dillashaw.
Should we even have you on for Aljo and Yan next month, or we already have your take?
I honestly think Aljo should really think about either contacting FedEx or UPS and just sending the belt via, I would say next day delivery or some sort of, get a signature, make sure it's safe. For him to fight him is probably a very bad idea. I mean, I'm sorry.
Maybe
manhandled in the first fight, it's going to be worse in the second fight.
Maybe we have you and Ray Longo on together for that fight.
It's possible. We could do that. Now, I did give you the Derek Lewis call. I don't know if you actually acted on it because I told you Derek Lewis would get stopped in that fight.
Yeah, yes. And you also told me that you believe that if our boy, that Cyril Gane, whatever his name, will beat Francis Ngannou.
I feel
Not
the
only
same.
do I think he will beat Francis, I think he already has beaten Francis in practice multiple times.
Yeah.
Wow.
He on paper
Wow.
he should beat him 9 times out of 10.
Okay. There's a good reason why Francis Ngannou left France, and it wasn't to work on his English.
So it was because of Gane or what?
Well, do you really want to be in training camp with the guy you're going to end up facing in a few months for the heavyweight title? Do you really want to be there? And specifically, since he's a better wrestler than you are, since he has submissions in the UFC already as a heavyweight, you might want to go to the US and work on your wrestling where he can't watch you, because you're going to see the guy in 12 months. And so you better have some surprises up your sleeve before he concusses you.
Yeah, he's also probably the hardest heavyweight to hit, which is Francis.
Yeah, and he's if you didn't realize, he was much stronger than the bigger Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
Physically stronger.
Yeah, and in better shape.
So what do you think was happening in training camp when he was with Francis?
It sounds like Francis probably was getting the less of him.
Okay. It was very similar to the Cain Velasquez situation with Daniel Cormier at the AKA that nobody liked to talk about.
Because I happen to know that Cain was taking both Luke Rockhold and everybody else, including Daniel. And I think Daniel's the most impressive fucking fighter of all time, just because of his physicality and what he was dealing with. But there was one guy that was turning everybody's fucking head around in practice and punching them into Kingdom Come. It was Cain Velasquez. Nobody could touch him.
Yeah,
in his prime.
100%. So
in his prime, Luke Rockhold told me that's the toughest guy that ever walked the earth.
So let me ask you a question. If you're stuck in training camp with him and you're also a heavyweight, do you stay at AKA?
You stay there, but you go down to 205 pounds.
No. If you're stuck at heavyweight, are you going to stay in the same training camp with the worst training partner ever?
No.
You have to go somewhere else and try to improve.
Yep.
Off camera guy, you were saying this about Daniel Cormier when nobody knew his name. You were saying he needs to go down to 205, and you were saying all this stuff, and you were saying that he's going to beat everybody. You've always been able to predict, and I think it's because you know how good these guys are at wrestling and how your kung fu is never good here if you're that good a wrestler.
Yeah, it's very true.
Actually, unless you're John Jones, by the way. Unless you're John Jones. How does John Jones do against Cyril Gane?
That's a much better fight than Francis, in my opinion.
Well, that comes straight down to an IQ fight.
Yeah.
If John Jones tries to strike with Cyril, he's in for. Have you ever been to a quinceañera? Have you seen what happens to a piñata?
Come on, man. John Jones is never outstruck, though. He's never outstruck.
Yeah, except when he fights anybody his own size. And
Cyril Gane is a better striker than John Jones?
Oh, by far. Light years.
Really?
Light years ahead. His fight IQ, stand-up fight IQ is much more advanced. The problem with John Jones, though, is John Jones can throw on that wrestling switch whenever he wants, and John is a legit wrestler.
Yeah,
very good Greco tie-ups, and that weight class is the weight class for Greco tie-ups because big boys don't generally drop level too much. John does, and he's fast and he's quick. I don't know how fast and quick he'll be at 250, 260, but he will still be able to throw you on your head from clinch tie-ups, over-unders, drag-bys. I mean, he will still get a hold of you. So if he pushes him into the cage, then John has a very good chance of neutralizing the strikes, ground him, and pound him. John could beat him if he uses that IQ. Now, if John drinks his own Kool-Aid and thinks he's going to stand outside and strike with the guy, he's in for a Derek Lewis night.
Wow.
Yeah, I think John should definitely be leaning into the wrestling at heavyweight. I think that is 100%. By far the best path.
There are a lot of guys that are phenomenal wrestlers that don't even use it.
Right.
Like Luke Rockhold. If Luke Rockhold went out in his next fight and decided just to wrestle, it's winner, chicken dinner. But Luke most likely will not wrestle because Luke
is going to fight. Luke is going to fight. What's his name? Sean Strickland. So that's going to be interesting.
By the way, if he decides to take Sean Strickland down, Strickland
wins that fight.
Stop him.
Yep.
And when he gets Strickland on the ground, Strickland is stuck on the ground. He's not getting up.
I'm going to call Luke Rockhold after this and tell him that.
Yeah.
as if Luke needs advice from me.
No, he has a million guys talking to him. 100%.
No, I'm not. I'm kidding. Luke knows what the fuck he's doing. But I You had a lot to say about this new guy I've not heard of against Barbosa. This guy Giga.
Giga. Yeah, Giga is he's currently the only guy that fights like he fights at that weight class in the UFC.
No one fights like him.
The closest two guys would be Wonder Boy and Zabit.
Zabit.
Yeah.
Zabit just disappeared. Tom, do you know what happened to Zabit?
Well, I know he had like 3 different times he was matched up with Yair Rodriguez, and that fell apart several times. And then I think he had like a contract dispute where he wanted more money or some shit like that. And then he was seen at Bellator, and there was a lot of drama there. But I know he was matched up with Yair several times, and that fell apart.
Yeah, but those 3 guys are very similar in their movements. Wonder Boy is very similar in his background as he is. So Barbosa's making the mistake of thinking he's a Muay Thai guy. He's not a Muay Thai guy. He doesn't fight like a Muay Thai guy. The only time he fights like a Muay Thai guy at all is when he's fighting a southpaw. And Barbosa is not a southpaw. So he is not going to fight like a Muay Thai guy when he fights Barbosa. Barbosa is an original right-hander and basically stays right-hander all day long. So Barbosa's number 1 weapon is that low calf kick against other right-handers. So if Guy comes out as a southpaw, which he predominantly loves to fight southpaw, even though he is also a right-hander, he fights southpaw all day long. If he comes out as a southpaw, which he should, that negates that kick completely. And if Barbosa continues to try to throw that kick, he opens himself up to Guy's favorite kick, the left leg liver kick. He's finished a lot of guys in pro kickboxing with that kick.
Didn't he finish his last fight with that?
So,
too? Who was that?
Oh, yeah.
So money on Giga. Money on. Hey, what are the odds on that? Money on Giga for sure. Then
Giga is a -105 underdog, but I mean it's basically a pick 'em. Edson Barboza is -115.
Yeah,
I'm putting my money on Giga.
Yeah, and Giga's a big boy. Like he's fighting 145, but he walks around over 180.
It's a Roughhouse Friday.
Okay, there we go.
Oh shit!
I know,
dude.
I know.
You're not
What can I
fucking
say?
around.
No, I'm just sitting here buying NFTs and getting my hair done. Just
Dude,
jokes.
you're so futuristic. You're so young. Look at that hair. You're
There's-
221.
Yeah, I
I
gotta
can't
go.
compete.
Do you have AirPods by chance? Anyone? What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I still have like the blue in my hair. I still have to go wash it out in like 10-15 minutes. So it's extra blue and pushed back right now. I might rock.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a good look. I like it.
I love it. I think it looks great.
You look like you're in a
Thank you,
fucking
brother.
video game.
Thank you.
Sean,
Feel
you
like-
are an original, and I fucking love it. I want your take. Can we start recording right now?
Yeah,
It's
we're good. We're going. We're good.
Sean, where's your money? Where's your money at? Jake Paul, and take all personal feelings out of it. Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley, as a fighter, as an unorthodox, outstanding fighter, as the future of this sport. I need your point of view here.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna have a similar point of view as everyone. It's just like we'll see. We just know, I mean, everyone. I feel like every prediction I've listened to has been like, fuck, I don't know, we'll see. And I'm right there too. It's Jake makes everyone want to watch. It's such a superpower, such a skill that he has for being 3-0. It's crazy. It's like insane. I think it's gonna be a harder fight than both those guys think. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive match. Honestly, I think it's going to be. I think they're going to both surprise each other, and it's going to be a sweet fight. I'm excited. I'm going to be there. I'm leaving for Cleveland tomorrow morning, so I'm going to be there. I'm going to sit, front row or as close to, or I don't really know where. I'll have to be sitting in the nosebleeds. Really, I don't know.
No, you should be front. You should be front row. Because I actually think about a guy like you who's so good at marketing and who's such an original. And for lack of a better word, super colorful. But what also got you there and what keeps you there is how skilled you are. And like it's what I love about you is, yeah, you're a wonderful tapestry and you're very colorful, but you're also a fucking really good fighter and a very difficult puzzle to solve, not to mention really tough. So it's a little bit different. Like you're a fighter first. you're a showman. Okay, that's great. But you're a fighter, dude. And there's a big difference, right? But but Jake Paul seems to be is taking this very seriously and actually wants to be a fighter. But
yeah, 100%. He's taking it very seriously. I think how long they've been training, last 3-4 years. You know, Jake's seems like he's been consistent the entire time.
But did he start late? Isn't it hard?
Yeah.
Isn't it right? Like you started when you were how old?
I mean, for most boxers, usually when someone's, you know, a high level boxer, they start when they're like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's normal for boxers. To think that Jake started when he was in his 20s, you know, he was an athlete growing up, and he's an athletic kid. He's a big kid, but to be boxing the last 4 years, pretty much started I think when he was 20, maybe 19, and be at this level of, I mean, we're gonna see where his skills really are. I think against Tyron, I didn't believe we would get to see where his true skills were against Askren, because I could see that fight going like the way it did, where he drops him early, and you didn't get to see, you know, the inside boxing up against the rope, him circling out, him eating a shot. Like we didn't get to see any of that. We had never seen any of that. So I do think Tyron has the potential to do that to him.
But if you were Tyron's coach, what would you say to him?
That's a good question there, Bryan. Holy, that was too deep. That would hurt. Oof.
Dude, I get deep, bro.
That was
I get
deep.
This is what you're dealing with now. All right, dude. You want to play with the big boys? This is what fucking happens.
That was deep. Tim would never ask me a deep question like that. What would I say about Tyron? I think they're going to be aggressive, smart, patient, but aggressive. You know, try to land some big shots early, but trying to land big shots early to get him cracked. Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm not a coach. I'm glad I'm not a coach. I'm that fighter. I don't know what
yeah, you're an instinctual guy, and you do things that a lot of people. That's just, you got so much talent, and so unorthodox. But did you do a lot of boxing? It's very different, isn't it? Boxing and what you do.
It is very different. Jesus, there's just fly flying around me, Bryan.
That's because your hair's so blue, bro.
I'm looking like a crackhead over here.
It looks.
Yeah, I did a lot of boxing. I mostly did boxing 16, 17 years old. So really just for a couple of years. And then it's kind of always been kickboxing. So yeah, it's a very different sport. It's a different range. I think with my skill, I could transfer over to boxing really well. I don't think a lot of MMA fighters can.
Have you have you gotten into the ring and sparred with high level boxers before?
Yeah, I have. I have a pro boxing fight when I hurt my foot really bad. Couple years back when I was like 2 or 3-0 MMA, and all I was doing was boxing, and I took a pro boxing fight, like a pro boxing camp, you know, the running every day, the jump roping, the sparring 3 times a week, like did a full boxing camp with real boxers, and did really good. I fought a trash can boxer, like that's what you do, and you try to level up. And that mindset, I was like, I want to be a boxer. I was like, what do I got to do? We're gonna train boxing, and then I'm gonna climb the boxing rankings. This was when I was, like I said, 3-0, 4-0, so I was super young still in my career. So yeah, I beat the dude's ass in the first round, but he sucked. But yeah.
Right. So your money is where? Your money's on Jake Paul?
Oh, I mean, I think Tyron's the underdog.
Right.
Which is crazy to think that Jake Paul is a favorite over Tyron Woodley in a boxing fight. Obviously, if it was a fight, the odds would be backwards, but it's a boxing match. And Jake's the favorite. I love it. I love it. I think it's funny. I don't know. Where's your money at, Bryan? Where are you putting?
I think if Tyron Woodley comes in the headspace he's been in the past 4 years, I'm going with the guy who's 15 years his junior, who's taking boxing seriously, who's 190 pounds, maybe 200 walking around, who cracks hard and who's taking this so seriously and wants to be taken seriously. Hunger is a big deal there. But if Tyron Woodley is mad enough at what they said about his mama, and he comes in and closes distance and gets under that jab and get on either side of it and starts throwing those crazy hooks and banging his body, we'll see. But can Tyron Woodley negotiate that long Jake Paul jab? Now, again, I'm talking like a guy who's seen a lot of Jake Paul fights.
Yeah.
We actually haven't seen Jake Paul spar. We haven't even seen him box, really, a boxer or actually a fighter yet. So again, it's like when I think about Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez. I mean, I've watched Caleb Plant fight guys who aren't anywhere close to Canelo. So I'm such a fan of Caleb Plant. But when you see him fight Canelo, it's going to be a very different thing. It's like Billy Joe Saunders. He looked so phenomenal always. Then he has to fight Canelo and he gets his eyeball kicked in. So it's, it's just, it's hard to say. We don't know yet. I don't know anything about Jake Paul. So I'm talking about his jab. What does that mean? I haven't seen his jab. I'm kind of just talking.
Like you said, Tyron, where's his head at? It's such an important part in fighting, going into a fight with a good mindset. That's everything. It starts with everything.
Keep that mindset. How do you keep that mindset, Sean? Do you not think about it? Do you keep that mindset but not thinking about it?
For me, it's always come down. It comes down to the preparation. You know what I mean? I think I prepare so well. A good amount of time out where it's just fight, it's just focus, it's dialed in, got all the coaches, we're all dialed in. It comes from preparation. I wouldn't be confident going and fighting. If they're like, hey, Sugar, you're fighting in 6 days and you got to make even 145. I'm like, that's not where I want to be mentally. I'm not in fight camp. I'm not physically, I'm not in fight camp. Like I need to be. So when I'm going to the cage, I'm just so confident from the preparation I've done, working with him, working with Brandon, working with Dan Garner. You know, Big Dan.
I love Dan. I love Dan Garner. I love Tim Welch.
Yep.
Tim Welch, don't sleep on Tim Welch. That dude is a smart dude who is your head coach. I love that guy.
Yeah.
So do you know anything about this guy Giga who's fighting Barboza?
I don't know much about him. I think the first time I saw him fight or heard about him was when he kicked Cub Swanson. He's the one that team kicked Cub Swanson. I think that was the first time I heard about him. Edson Barboza, obviously, we know who Edson is. Edson's a beast, dude. I'm excited for that.
Do you get nervous when you see these guys thinking that you might end up in the 45-pound weight class eventually? And I think you're going to be great, but I'm just wondering.
No, yeah, I definitely will. I think my frame, I'm 26 years old. I'm going to probably get bigger naturally. I'll probably fight at 45, but right now I walk around 157. I'm still a good size bantamweight. I'm not too big. I think that's pretty normal. I think there's some smaller guys that ran, they went down to 25.
Off camera guy that we had on early in the show, he wanted me to ask you your take on Kevin Lee versus Daniel Rodriguez. He said he wanted to hear what you thought about that fight.
I wish I knew. I've watched Daniel Rodriguez fight a couple times, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. He's won 11 of his last 12.
Boxing?
Yeah.
Did he have real slick boxing? I feel like I remember him, but I don't remember which fight I watched him. Kevin Lee will fight anybody. Kevin's a stud. I think I don't know much about the other guy. I feel like I watched him and I knew he was a good boxer, but I don't remember much.
Well, he beat Mike Perry at the UFC on ABC on that one. He beat him by decision. He beat Tim Means. He's beat a couple. He's won 11 of his last 12, so he's on a run. Damn.
That dude, okay. I do remember watching him fight Perry. Yeah, the dude's slick. That's gonna be a sweet fight. Definitely an interesting fight. And that I didn't know that was Saturday too. Or no.
Yeah. That's next Saturday. It's tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, we got fight Saturday.
Dude,
we got.
I keep thinking today's Sunday. I'm so my days have been so messed up. It's crazy. I keep thinking today's Sunday. It's Friday.
Those fights are tomorrow.
Do you train all
Sunday?
Sean, do you train all year round? Do you train all year round?
Yeah, training all year round. That's for the last 10 years, that's been normal. Train all year round.
What's the difference between when you're in fight camp and when you're not in fight camp?
Oh God, a lot. I mean, I'll do even like a pre-fight camp where 3-4 weeks before fight camp is like getting into fight camp. Right now, I'm probably gonna fight in December 11th, so I'm still quite a ways out. Been doing a lot of traveling. I just had flew in 3, then had 4 other guys from Twitch subscribers fly down, stayed at my house, had a fight on Saturday.
Oh shit.
And so this last week's been crazy. I keep messing up my days, but wow. in fight camp, it's crazy. I crave it, but I hate it. I know when I'm in there, I'm like, God, I wish I wasn't, but when I'm not, I always think about it.
So 2 guys.
I gotta tell you, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was gonna say, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, I think the 135-pound weight class is the most stacked weight class.
So goddamn good.
Period. I really do, and I think to be the guy that everybody's talking about, which is who you are. And by the way, just so you know, I hate talking to somebody I like this way because I don't want to get in your head. I don't want you even hearing good things because I don't want you aiming for anything. So I'm going to shut the fuck up about that. Let me ask you this question.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I know. I don't like blowing you up because I don't want you to have to live up to any. I don't like when people do that to fighters I like because sometimes just as a performer, I know I end up trying to aim for that. I end up trying to be that. I don't want to fucking hear what you like about me or what you don't like about me, motherfucker. I do my thing. Don't tell me shit. I don't want your compliments because they're just as damaging as your fucking criticism because they define me. And I might start trying to fulfill your prophecy of me. So you understand what I'm saying? So fuck that. Let me ask you a question. Yeah, let me ask you a question that puts you more on your toes, which is I want to make you uncomfortable. Do you look at a guy like Peter Yan who does those Sambo trips I've never seen, who can stand in your fucking grill and step and split hands that well? Do you look at a guy like that and go, I don't know how to solve that puzzle, and what do I do about that?
I'm the puzzle, though. That's the thing. When people get in there, they're trying to solve me. I'm just dotting them up from the outside. I got the range.
That's a hell of an answer.
Good answer.
Stand
Good
and
answer,
dance on the outside and hit you with my hands 15 times, like Chris, in 30 seconds.
Yeah, your hand's still fucking sore from that fight?
My hands actually, literally, I think it's been 8 weeks to so it is for tomorrow. They're still a little sore. I can hit mitts now, but the top knuckle on both hands, they're still a little sore. I never punched something that many times.
Well, I did want to ask you, Sean.
That kid was so fucking tough. I hated seeing him take that damage. They should have stopped that fight.
It was sad.
He's so tough, but he was so outclassed. It's not fair to him. I mean, they can't to put him in against a guy like you. It's just like it was just watching you just like you were just like literally a phantom. It was like watching a ghost.
Yeah.
It was like what the fuck, this poor guy.
You couldn't miss.
You know?
I did want to ask you. I did want to ask you that two guys that I thought you'd be lined up with next, which one of them you already were Frankie Edgar and Chito Vera, obviously. Those were like in the rumor mill that you would be lined up with one of those guys next. And I just saw today that they announced those two are fighting each other in November. So what do you think about that fight?
Yeah, I called that. I even did a podcast a couple of days ago, and I said I bet it's gonna be Frankie versus Chito. They offered me Frankie in New York.
Yeah.
I didn't want to fight in New York.
You should.
I didn't. Tim has a competition, a jiu-jitsu competition, a big one, an important one. That same weekend or really close to it. And that we planned that before I planned on fighting, and it's a thing that he needs to do. Also I prefer not to fight in New York. Taxes are horrible. So I'm gonna fight in Vegas December 11th. And I told him, I said, if Frankie wants to fight, we can fight December 11th. Obviously they wanted him in New York, him versus Chito. I think Chito beats him, to be honest. Interesting matchup. I'll tune in.
You know what I like about how the UFC is bringing you up? For the first time, they have a superstar that they're taking their time with. Like the UFC needs to take people like you who are a draw, who everybody loves and wants to watch, and they need to just bring you up the way you do a boxer. Don't blow your load all in one. Bring Sean O'Malley up slowly, tease us. The man is the future. And I think for the first time, they're doing it right with you. I really do. I don't want to see you fight. I want to see, because you're a nightmare for everybody. And I know you are confident enough to believe that you have the belt right now. And that may very well be the case. You're still 26 though. And I want to take my time, bro. I want to take my time with Sugar Sean. I want to take my time. I want to see you fighting dudes and just lighting people up. And then when it's time for the belt, and it will be, that's when, and that might be 2 years, that might be 4 years. I don't know. If I was your manager, if I'm running the show, you'd be so frustrated with me. I'd be like, no, not yet, Sean.
Pedro Munoz is what I want to see.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I get, like I said this earlier, people got mad. I seen a bunch of UFC fighters complain and say whatever. Like, I haven't turned down a fight. They offered me Frankie in New York. I turned down a place. I didn't turn down Frankie. I said I'll fight him in December. I haven't turned down a fight. UFC's doing whatever they're doing with me. I don't care. I get paid the same amount of money. And I said this to fight. If I fought a top 5 dude right now, or I fought someone that wasn't ranked, I'm gonna get paid the exact same amount of money. I'm a businessman. I'm a fighter. Pretty much 50-50. So it's never really bothered me too much. I'm going to keep knocking dudes out. So I plan on being in the sport for a long time, and I've never really worried about it.
Yeah, I didn't like
You're the future of the sport.
I didn't like reading that Sean Shelby shit. The kind of that exchange there. That didn't read well for that guy.
Yeah, I seen him in Houston that weekend. So it came out that week. I seen him in Houston that weekend. He wasn't very happy with me. We had a nice long conversation. I ended up apologizing for bringing it public. I guess it wasn't, I told him I didn't want to feel bullied into a fight. I told him I didn't want to fight New York. We talked about it, and we're on a good path together again.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, you're the future of the sport, and I've said it a bunch of times. And I always get nervous watching you because I only want the best for you. But give me your pick. Tyron Woodley, Jake Paul. I got to put my money somewhere. Let's go.
Okay, don't put your money wherever I say to, but I would I feel like Jake's the bigger guy. I think he's been preparing correctly. He's the younger guy. I don't think he's gonna be the quicker guy. I think he's gonna be surprised. Tyron's fast. He's explosive, he's athletic. He's something that Jake's never seen. But I think Jake's, I think he's in a good spot mentally. It's so hard to say because I've never personally seen him deal with just that struggle inside the ring. I'm sure he has.
Have you seen Jake? Have you actually seen Jake spar?
I've never seen it. I would love to. I feel like I could get a really good read on where his boxing skills are. Seeing a full fight or even 3-minute rounds, I think I could get a good read. But I believe the hype. I'm listening to what he's saying. He's confident. He can go to that. He can drag Woodley into the 8 rounds. He thinks his cardio is going to be better. It's similar to Conor. Conor will make you think that he's going to knock out Khabib in the first round. We all believe that. I believe that. I'm like, oh shit, he's going to land that left hand. I'm in the same boat with Jake. I'm like, oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. I believe it. I think it comes from their confidence. I feel like I give that off to people too. I'm like, I'm gonna drop this dude. And I say it with true confidence. And
but you do drop him. But you do. There's a big difference. I don't like comparing you to Jake Paul. That's not a fair comparison. That's not. It's not. You can't take a guy. All due respect to Jake Paul. You cannot compare Jake Paul to Suga Sean O'Malley. It's not. Come on. Let's be serious. You're a dyed-in-the-wool badass who's proved himself time and again. Let's all take a step back here. Yes, showmanship. Yes, media. Yes, savvy. Yes. But big fucking different animal. It's gonna be a long time before I start talking about Jake Paul. Again, due respect to him in the same breath as I do Sean O'Malley. So I'm very protective of that. It's not easy to do what you've done. You got to be a different athlete and a different guy. It's just difficult. It's difficult. So
I appreciate that.
Anyway,
I appreciate that. And I've been doing it for. I'm 26. I'm almost 27. I've been doing it for 10 years. Jake's been doing it for 3 years, and he's gotten really, really good at 3 years.
Yes.
So as far as I appreciate that though. Thank you, Bryan.
Big difference. Well, I'll let you go wash that blue out of your hair, my friend. We appreciate you joining us, and love getting the take on things.
Thanks,
absolutely.
man.
Always good talking to you, Bryan.
Appreciate it.
Come see me in Los Angeles, my friend. Anytime. My house is your house. You know this. This.
I would love to. I'd love to sleep in your guest room.
Or even my bed. You never know. Things get weird in my household. And listen, you tell Big Red he's welcome too. We've already done some flow grappling.
We'll get some flow grappling.
You felt my
You're wrestling.
My
your
2-on-1.
I was trapped.
My hips are scary.
They're a weapon.
I'll sprawl right now.
You have great sprawl.
You got anything you want to plug, Sean? Your Twitch or anything like that?
I got new merch dropping. Sugashop.co. Got it dropping Wednesday. It's insane. There's robes obviously on there. It's insane. I think my YouTube channel is Sean O'Malley. I've been coming out with a ton of vlogs. I just vlogged that whole trip that I brought all those Twitch subscribers, flew them down. It's hilarious. I met a couple of them for the first times. Been talking to them on the Xbox mic for like 2 years and meeting them for the first time. They stayed at my house and we had a party. It was so much fun. That's on YouTube, and that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Bryan.
Dude, I'm working with some big people in Hollywood on a very funny show, and you're gonna be one of the first people I call. You'll love it. We'll talk off camera.
Let's
chat.
All right, kids. Love it.
Thank
Sean,
you,
you're the best, brother.
Later.
You're the best. I'll talk to you soon. Say hi to Tim.
Yes, I will, sir.
Later.
All right, that was great.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going. I got to tell you, I just feel dangerous, and I just want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Tyron Woodley. I know, out of respect for the UFC, out of respect for that great former champion, and out of respect for the elderly.
All right.
I'm going with age over youth.
All right. Well, let me say that it seems like you're disregarding the last hour of conversations we just had, but I'm gonna go with Jay. My heart wants to go with Tyron Woodley. That just, you want him to pull it off for the UFC, like that's how you feel about it. But I just think unless that them talking about his mom, shifted everything yesterday, I could see him going there trying to kill him. But I think everything points to him kind of being a deer in headlights, and Jake Paul just
So you're putting your money on Jake Paul.
I'm going with Jake Paul. And I think me and you disagree
Okay.
also on Barboza and Giga. I think Giga is very capable, but I'm leaning Barboza. It's still fucking Edson Barboza.
Really?
Yeah, I'm leaning
So
that
I'm
way.
putting all my money on Giga.
All of it.
All my money on Giga. You're talking about a 2-time world champion kickboxer. You're talking about the Georgian nightmare. I talked to off camera,
Yeah.
and all I got to hear is that, and I'm going with that dude all day. And I'll do you one better. Anytime he fights at 45, I might be putting all my money on that guy. He might be the future at 45.
I think that's
Apparently,
true.
he's a lot like Zabit.
I think that's true. I do think there might, and this might be made up, but I do think there might be something to Edson's by far. One, he's the closest to his style of anybody's fault, but he's by far the biggest star. And I think it could possibly be somebody he looks up to. Who knows how that affects him going in there across from somebody that he's probably, no.
He didn't look up that. Not a guy with 250 fights.
He only has 11 pro MMA fights. He only has 11. He's 9-2.
Yeah, I got it. But he's also got 250 or something. You're
Okay.
talking, these kids talk about starting when you're 0. He was throwing punches in the womb. He's from Georgia. That's where all the wrestlers, Azerbaijan, Dagestan, Georgia, Armenia, that area is the toughest human beings. Their national sport is fighting, basically. So,
All right.
so you're talking, I'm not Barboza. I love him. I have so much respect, but
I think for the
he's
same
got,
reason
that's a puzzle.
for the same reason you're going with Tyron Woodley with experience and shit like that, because you want to. I think that's why I'm leaning to Edson Barboza, because you're probably right. But I just want to take Barboza. I want to fucking take a shot on. And then Kevin Lee.
Giga has more experience. Giga, they're gonna stand and bang. And I'll tell you this: Giga knows how to wrestle. He's extensively experienced.
He has a great name.
If they stand and bang,
All right.
But okay.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Where do I put my bets? Where do I place my bets?
You go to roughhousefriday.net/bet. They'll match your first deposit with Bitcoin up to 75%. You get all these odds. Bet with us. Send us your shit. Send us screenshots where you bet. Some people have done that. You can send it to roughhousefriday@gmail.com or just tag us on Instagram and let us know.
We're going to start putting this Roughhouse Friday thing on patreon.com/Bryan Callen. This is the last Roughhouse Friday that's going to be public. We're going to start putting this thing on patreon.com/Bryan Callen.